Great. So now it says I'm Christy Gay. It's recording the meeting, so that part's all right. I'm doing video, and it says Ron Patton would like to be admitted, so I must be in the right place. But it's not showing you. Okay. Hi, Ron. How are you?
Pretty good, Brenda. And you?
Great. Well, I've got Jerry on the line. We're trying to, Chris took a job tonight, and there, you just came in, Jerry. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to hang up our phone. Thank you so much. So Jerry's computer crashed. So Jerry's,
Oh,
so we're both trying to get stuff to work. So it's like,
yeah.
Plus, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, this is going to be a really big meeting.
Sure.
So that's our goal, is that we can get a lot more people to join. And I appreciate it if you, stay on. I love your background with get more people here. So we can.
I'm assuming you can hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly. Thank you.
Well, and I wanted to use the link on the public site to make sure it got them into the correct meeting, just in case people are using it.
Great. Yeah, no, and I mean, I copied that every time, so that part has worked. Let me see. So I was gonna show Ruth's site. So let me see if I can get back onto Zoom. I need to change my name. Let's see if I can do that. How do I?
No, Brenda, I've got a hard stop at 9 o'clock, okay?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and I mean, really, it'll only be that early part. And Jerry, when we get on, if you want to talk a little bit about joining, I'm going to do, so I'm just going to do a share screen. Hey, there's Charm. Share screen. Okay, great. So I was going to share screen and show Ruth's website.
Okay.
Yeah.
And her blog and stuff when people come on. And then I also have, can you see the club winners email that went out, or does that not?
Yep, I can see it.
Yeah, so then I thought I could show some of the workshops coming up. So, so that people would know what was coming up. Thought it would help if it was more visual.
One quick note, I did get a check from Hunt's Photo.
Great, good. For both of the $100 for both people?
It came as a single check for $200, correct?
Awesome, great. That's great news. Thank you for filling me in on that, Jerry. That's awesome to know. Hi, Charm, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hi.
Great, hi.
Hi, Ron. Hi, Jerry.
How's it going?
So,
Yeah, we were almost equal with Florida today. We got up to 83.
yeah, no, I'm back in Fort Wayne.
But maybe that's why we got the 83.
Yeah, I brought it with, that was my goal. So, Charm, are you able to show yourself, or or are you not on a computer to do that?
I am on a computer, yeah.
Just because if we get a bunch of new members, I just thought it would be great, for them to be able to see people whenever that was possible. Like I know Jerry can't do that, and a bunch of people can't, but I just thought if it works the way that we hoped it would work, my goal in making Ruth Carter open was that we'd get a bunch of people interested in this topic, since you really can't get this anywhere else, and or as easily as you can get how to run Lightroom. And so we were hoping we'd get some new people coming on, and could hit them up for, hey, for $12.50 you can join, test out the club, see what you think, and we've got all these great workshops coming. So
I like to watch it on a bigger screen, Brenda. So when I do that, I can't have the camera because I have to close my laptop.
oh, got it. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. So Irene just came in, and Jerry, how do we think that I make you so you can let people in? Let's see.
I'm not sure how the co-hosting thing
Jackie.
actually works.
What's the matter?
Pause recording. Do you have a choice, Jerry, on your list to ask to share screen? It's not a share screen. Security. Allow participants to share screen, rename themselves.
Yeah, I've got nothing at this point.
Okay, mode. Share sound, live on website. Floating meeting controls.
It looks like I have your name too for some reason.
Oh, geez. Okay, change your name back. I thought I was changing Christy Gay. I must have changed.
I got it. No, that's fine.
Jerry, back to Jerry.
That works for me.
Our gal tonight is Ruth is trans, so that's maybe then that's why you're going to be Brenda. Okay, so I can make you host. I can make you co-host. I found it, Jerry.
There you go. Okay.
Okay, so the next person that comes in will have you beep them through.
Okay.
And usually then I'm checking them against the list of members. So let's see, I talked to Ruth to come on at 6:40 and not seeing her. So let me email her real quick. Okay, that's the correct meeting for her. Oh, there she is. Good, perfect.
I just let her in.
Okay.
Should be here anytime.
Okay, perfect.
So Brenda, are you the one who brought the hot temperatures back?
I did.
Could we go back to 70?
Oh no, we're not doing the setback to 70 thing. You can deal with the 80 degrees.
I think 70s is a lot more pleasant.
We had a foot of snow. Come on, give me a break. We can.
Hardly a foot, Jerry.
Okay, well, close.
I didn't even get to use all the gas up in my snowblower. That
Well,
was my goal.
you can siphon it into your car then.
Just let the snowblower run till it stops, and then you'll be good to go.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sure the neighbors will love that.
They probably have the same problem.
That's true.
Hey, Ruth, hello, welcome. Thank you. We're so excited to have you. Can you hear us?
Loud and clear.
Perfect, wonderful. So I thought I would show your website. Can everybody see her website? Is that up? I was bouncing around on some other screens. Is that what's showing?
Yeah, it's up.
Yep,
Great.
that's my head.
Yep, and talk about well, I can see it, but that doesn't mean everybody else can see it. You know, Zoom is a little funny about that. And so talk a little bit about your very interesting, clever blogs. I have to say you're very unlawyerly in your videos and your let me looking for that one with the helmet that says fucking on it. That was hysterical.
I had a helmet?
Yeah, so you have the Come and Go, which by the way is the marketing on that is done by one of my former employees. She runs Come and Go. Oh, there's a helmet. Oh shoot, where is it? It's football helmet that says fucking something on it.
Oh God.
It's really funny.
It doesn't surprise me.
No, it's great. It was really good. And then you have this come and go. No, it wasn't about you being in Arizona.
Yeah, you guys are talking about snow blowers. I'm like, I have no idea what that's like.
It's not that bad. You get used to it.
Yeah, I don't have to shovel sunshine.
Yeah.
Is it on your, it must have been a video? no. I'm gonna be really disappointed.
Hey Brenda, off the topic, registering for that bird workshop,
Yes,
how do we do that? I mean, I went to the site, but they want you to either be a member.
yeah, you just have to register. They just want your email. So you just have to register. Sony is sponsoring it so that they can get your emails.
So they can send you spam.
Yeah.
That's right.
So that is the, so use your email that you don't, they're not your primary email. And so we're gonna wait and get a few more people in, Ruth, and we'll talk a little bit about yours and a little bit about the upcoming workshops that we have. And feel free to make any pitch, because you offer a ton of free services, which is really impressive. And so that's really great. And I also hope you'll talk about your book, the copyright infringement photography book. That looks great.
Oh, the legal,
There
I
was
get the legal side of being how not to get sued, fired, arrested, or killed. And there's lights, camera, lawsuit. The legal side of professional photography. That's a course. It's not a book.
oh yes, so that's the,
Which is even better, because instead of a book, it's 6 hours.
well, and it's you can update it better than you can a book, which becomes antiquated immediately.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
so
Why I didn't write a book about
that's great.
photography law.
So Brian and David, Ruth Carter, our speaker, is on. And so if anybody can keep their screens on, it's always more helpful, especially if we get some new folks coming on, for them to be able to see there's real people and not just black screens, if that's feasible. I know Jerry doesn't have that available, and I know Charm, yeah, see heads. Charm has, she's on her big screen, so so Charm can't use her laptop. So how are we doing on time? Just a couple minutes to go here. So what's your temperature in, is it in Phoenix, Ruth?
Yes, in Phoenix, it's a little chilly today, or not chilly. I think the high to lows are in the high 70s.
See, Jerry, the 70s.
So we might hit 100 this weekend for the first time this year.
Wow. Hi, everybody. We're going to be starting in just a couple of minutes, but Ruth Carter, our speaker, is on. Are the workshops showing the list of the monochrome conversion techniques? So
Yes.
on next Monday, next Tuesday, May 4th, Chris is doing monochrome conversion, because we have that as a June competition topic. So you'll want to grab that. And the very next day, I had to do a different time and a different day and link. So it's at 6:00 p.m. on Wednesday, May 5th. It takes you out to Sony, and you sign up for the bird workshop, and they take your email, because you're that's why they're sponsoring this workshop. So it's not about Sony gear at all, but Sony's sponsoring it, so they're collecting emails. So if you want to attend, use one of your emails. And so we're going to start out May, our birding month, with that. And then on May 25th, we have a 19-year-old photographer, Cameron Darnell. I took his course. I paid for it. He's doing it for us, paid for by Hunts. And so that is going to be on the 25th. Could somebody check their mic and mute if they?
Yep, that's me. I'll get it.
Okay. Okay, great. Thanks. And so this, I really think you're going to go crazy over this kid's photography, and just so fresh, really interesting how he uses a Frisbee type device to put a photo, to get in the water and photograph with. It's crazy what he's doing. Youth. So Larry Gaskell's going to do night photography May 18th. Oops, I need to flip those around. I've got those backwards. And then I think you'll really, really love Molly Isaacs. She's doing abstracts with impact. And she is really interesting, very innovative, very, I don't want to say off the wall, but really comes at photography a different way. And I paid for her class also. So I think you'll really like that. And then June 15th is long exposure, again with Chris. So we're gonna get started here in just a minute. We'll give a couple more people time to get in. And while we're waiting, I'm going to show you, does everybody see Ruth's website?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Great. So, you know, when you switch screens, it's not the greatest. So so this is Ruth's site. She has videos that Ruth puts out regularly that are really interesting. Like one is on illegal parking, and then she says, "Here's my unsolicited advice about different topics. Like after you paid an attorney to have a contract written for you, sign it, use it." And Ruth makes the point that it happens all the time that people pay to have contracts written, and then when they don't sign it, they don't have the other entities sign them, and then there's a big problem, and the contract is completely useless, because unless everyone signed it, it's you just paid a bill for nothing. So anyway, there's all these really interesting, really fun, crazy videos, and then also some blogs. And one of the topics that Ruth talks about is, trade names, registered trademarks, but also having a blog, which lots and lots of photographers do, and some of the problems that you can have with a blog and what you put on a blog. And so I thought that was really fascinating, because lots of people are just blogging now and not realizing that it's kind of like having opened a newspaper, and you have to be careful what you say if you don't want any kind of legal backlash. So I will say everything's really, really interesting. That's great. So let's have you share your screen, Ruth, if you go ahead and do that. I will continue to let people in. Right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Ruth, you did agree that this could be recorded. I just want to double check with you before that we record it. Great. So this is recorded. So if you have questions later and want to go back and look at everything, you certainly can. And we're so excited to have you. Ruth, I paid for this presentation on another site, and it was so interesting. And Ruth busted all these myths that I'd been told for years about what's required and what's not in law, that I wanted to get Ruth for us. And I will tell you, Ruth offered to do this for free. So that was extremely, extremely kind of Ruth. And also that Ruth has agreed that we can record this and share this with our membership. Also incredibly kind and generous. So we are very appreciative of you being able to do that. So everybody should be seeing Ruth's screen. And if everybody that, since we're going to start, would go ahead and mute, and Ruth will go ahead and begin. And thank you again for coming and presenting to us.
Well, thank you for having me. Yes, for me, it's really important for people to have quality information, because there is so much bad information out there that I feel like I'm doing my part to help the community by sharing the correct news. So today I'm going to be sharing what you need to know about copyright and contracts as it applies to photography. So by day, I am a photography lawyer. My business focuses on business, copyright, internet law. And then in my not so spare time, I am both a male and female model, because as a non-binary person, I like doing that. So there you go. And then whenever I give presentations, people are really good about asking questions that I'm about to answer in the next slide. So let's hold questions till the end, unless I've said something that doesn't make sense. Then interrupt me and be like, whoa, well there, Pooh Bear, go back, keep explaining it. Otherwise, questions we'll do at the end. All right, so every time I give a talk, I have to give this disclaimer. I am an attorney. However, until you are paying me, I am not your attorney. I'm here today to provide general legal information. This is not a substitute for legal advice. If you need legal advice, go hire somebody. All right? You're on mute. You can't say all right, so I'll say it for you. All right. And then I am going to warn you, the answer to every question, every legal question at least, starts with "it depends." So when we get to the Q&A section, you're going to hear this a lot. It's not that I'm avoiding your questions. It's just that the law is not very black and white. If it was, we wouldn't need lawyers to explain these things. But I say it so much, people have turned it into a drinking game. So if you have a beverage, whether it's water or otherwise, feel free. Okay, so let's just jump right in and start talking about copyright. So to get a copyright in the US is super simple. You only need two things. You need an original work of authorship that's fixed in any tangible medium. So in terms of photography, that means the moment you snap that shutter, you have a copyright in whatever photo you just took. Tangible medium does not have to be on film. It doesn't have to be on paper. It can be an electronic digital file. So it's a really low bar to be able to get a copyright. Original work of authorship, fixed and tangible medium. So for other people, that might mean as soon as you put fingers to keyboard, paint to canvas, spray paint to a wall, once you have finished the work, you have a copyright in it. And for photographers, finished means just snapping the photo, not the edited version. You have a copyright in the original photo. You also have a copyright in the final edited, beautiful. Well, they're both beautiful because you're photographers, but you know what I mean. Notice there is nothing in here about talent or quality. So the law protects the beautiful works that you make to the same extent that it protects the chicken scratch drawings that I do or the craptastic photos that I take with my phone. The law makers way back in the day realized they have no business determining, what is and is not art. So they kind of basically said everything that meets this minimum qualifications is protected by copyright. Also notice there is nothing in here about registration. You do not have to register your work in order to get your copyright. You have a copyright the moment it is created. And here's something else to be mindful of, comes up in photography a lot. There is no copyright protection for facts or ideas. So what does that mean for you? This is why it's possible for two people to take almost the exact same photograph without there being any issue of copyright infringement. So for example, this photographer took this picture of the Golden Gate Bridge. They own the copyright in their photograph, the one that they took. They don't get exclusive rights in this image, this idea of the bridge. So he, she, they can't stop me from figuring out exactly where they were standing, wait for nightfall, wait for the lights to come on, fiddle around with the settings on my camera, not that I have a camera, but I know you do, and come up with a photo that looks almost exactly the same as this one. So our photos may be identical, but they would have the copyright in the photo they took. I would have the copyright in the photo that I took. What I can't do is take their photo and put my name on it. That's copyright infringement. So there isn't copyright in things like poses or landscapes where it's like anybody can go out there with their camera and take a photo. As long as they're not claiming your work is their own, they haven't done anything wrong. So something to be very clear about when it comes to copyright. So when you have a copyright, you get 5 rights with that. You get the rights to copy, distribute, display, perform, and make derivative works based on your work. You have the exclusive right, and you get to decide if and when other people get to use those rights. So the best way I know to understand it is think of it like a jar of markers. You have a jar with these 5 markers in it, and as the copyright owner, you get to decide which markers you use, which markers you let other people use. You might even sell 1 or 2 of those markers to somebody else. That's okay. As the copyright owner, you get to decide what happens with those markers. So just because you're not using one of your rights does not open the door for somebody else to use them because you aren't. So that's not allowed. Whoever owns the copyright gets to decide when and how the work is copied, distributed, displayed, performed, and what derivative works can be made. Copy, distribute, display, perform are all pretty self-explanatory. How you perform a photo, I don't know, but you have that right. Derivative works are works that are made based on another work. So the best way I know to explain derivative works is Star Wars. Industrial Light and Magic own the copyright in Star Wars, the first movie. And the derivative works are things like the Yoda backpacks, action figures, posters, the Lego sets, costumes, things like that. All of those were made based on the original movie, and Industrial Light and Magic got to decide who gets to make what. And then when Industrial Light and Magic sold the rights to Star Wars to Disney, and the rights changed hands, and Disney gets to decide now what things get to be made based on Star Wars. So, and one of the first things Disney did when they acquired the rights was actually shut down production on a Star Wars video game because they decided, nope, we don't want that derivative work being made anymore, so it's not going to happen. So those are your 5 rights that you get once you have, when you have a copyright. All right. So I said you don't have to register your copyright in order to get your rights. So then why would anybody go through the process and spend the money to register it? Well, there's 3 reasons why when it makes sense. The first is if you license your work. The first rule of intellectual property licensing is you can't license something you don't own. Now, you don't have to register your copyright to get your copyright rights, but it's a good idea to register it if you're licensing it as a way to demonstrate to the other side, yes, I really do own this. Another situation in which I recommend registration is if you're going to sell your copyright. Then by having the registration, it increases the value. It also demonstrates to the other side that you have strong evidence that you are the owner. The third reason is if you're going to sue. Because although you don't need to register your copyright to get your rights, you are required to register your copyright in order to sue for copyright infringement. And the rules recently changed where it used to be you had to have just a pending application in order to sue. They changed that. Now you have to have your registration issued by the US Copyright Office before you can sue. So those are the three reasons why it makes sense for someone to register a copyright. Registering it is not, I'm not going to say it's not hard. You can do it yourself through copyright.gov. But if you're going to do it yourself, I recommend giving yourself an entire afternoon and have your favorite beverage waiting for you when you're done because you might want it. I not only have a law degree, I also have an intellectual property certificate. I know this stuff. And even with all that knowledge, the first time I did a copyright registration was for my own work, I think it was for my first book. It still took me an hour and I got a whole lot of error messages that I had. They're like, nope, error, go back and fix it. So if that's what happened when the lawyer who knows what they're doing is doing it for the first time, I recommend giving yourself the entire afternoon. Or something I recommend to clients is if you are someone who's going to register your work as part of your process for the work you create, hire a lawyer for an hour to walk you through your first one, and then you can do the subsequent ones on your own. It's the government. It's not horrible, but it's not the most user-friendly website. There's like 12 screens that could have been combined into one. It's just logic doesn't always apply in the process. So that's what I have to say about registration. All right, let's move on and talk about sharing your photos on social media. So I mean, it seems like every 3 seconds there's a new platform popping up. You know, we got the Instagram, the TikTok, we had Pinterest, there we have this Clubhouse thing. There's always something that we can use to share our work. And if that's something you want to do, that is your prerogative. But I recommend that you check the terms of service on that social media platform before you post your photos, just so that you understand the rights you are giving to the platform and maybe perhaps other users when you do that. So that way you are making an informed decision. I know most people don't read terms of service on websites, even though I write them for a living, and I write some really funny ones too while, you know, when I'm at it, if the client lets me. But this is sorry, choking. This is one time where it's a good idea to make yourself aware, because I think for every time that I've written a terms of service for a website where people were allowed to share their work on it, I wrote it in that by posting your work, you are granting the website a non-exclusive, worldwide, perpetual, paid in full, royalty-free license to use your photo for anything that the website wants to do with it. So you may find the photo of your dog. If you post it, suddenly your dog may be the poster child for the website, and they don't have to give you credit, they don't have to give you money, and you may be like, hey, I took that photo, you should pay me for it. They could point to their terms of service and say, no, we don't. We don't have to, and we're not going to, because you gave us permission to use it by posting it on our site. So just something to be mindful of when you're posting your work on a social media platform compared to posting it on your own site where you have more control. All right. So let's talk about some fun stuff. I should say more fun stuff. How do you discover if your work's been stolen? And for most people, it's not if, but when your work gets stolen. I've had my work stolen at least 5 times, and people should really know better than to steal from the internet lawyer. And a lot of people have this idea that they're allowed to share anything that they find online or use anything that they find online. And there are even some so-called gurus who will say, oh yeah, you can use any photo you want, like use any photo you find, as long as you give an attribution and a link back. As a lawyer, I look at that and I say, no, what you're possibly doing is committing copyright infringement, admitting it, and because you're providing a link back, you're telling the person about it. And we're really good about understanding property rights. We're really bad as a society about understanding intellectual property rights. So for example, let's say your neighbor had a really cool car, like this really awesome 1950s vintage, beautiful car, and you loved it and you wanted everyone to see it because it's so pretty. And it was just sitting out on the driveway. They weren't using it. So what's the harm in taking it out for a spin and showing it to everyone in the city? When the cops pull you over, if you say, I was just giving it exposure, the police officer is going to come back and say, no, you were committing grand theft auto. So yeah, this is the type of issues that, I mean, it's funny, but these are the real issues we deal with all the time. And there are the people who, you know, like I said, will just go to Google Images and pull anything that they find and think that they're allowed to use it. You can also use this same search engine to do a reverse image search. So instead of typing in, you know, information about a photo that you're looking for, you click on the little camera icon and it'll give you the option to upload your photo, and then it'll compare your photo to the internet and it could show where people are using it. If the person who has stolen your photo has altered it, like cropped it, it may not pop up, but this is one way to determine if someone's stolen your work. I've used it to see where people have stolen one of my photos. So that's an option. And I'm only talking about options that are free. There are services out there that you can pay for that do like ongoing searches. I don't know enough about the current ones to be able to recommend any of them, so I'm not going to. All right, another thing you can do using the Google machine is create a Google alert for your name. Because like I said, some people will steal your work and give that attribution and they'll put your name on it. So if you set up a Google alert, it could send you an email whenever someone uses your name. I hope no one here is named John Smith because that might be cumbersome. But it's one way to be alerted when someone is either talking about you or stealing from you. So I've had both. I have an ongoing alert for my name. And because I have an old lady name, I also get quite a few notices about Ruth Carters who have died because I get their obituary notices. So there you go. And then I think this is the last one. Tactic that I use is watch your analytics. So you can use Google Analytics. There are also plugins for websites like Jetpack is one that I have on my site that you can use to see how are people getting to my website. And so it may be through Google, it may be through, you know, Facebook, Instagram, I don't know, you know, whatever people are using these days to share their work. And if you see a source that you don't recognize, you can click on it and say, hey, show me how someone got to my site from here. And so whenever I see something in my analytics that I don't recognize, I will click on it and wonder, okay, are they talking about me? Are they talking about a topic I've talked about? And every so often when I click on it, I'm shown, oh, No, you're just stealing from me, jerk. Okay. So again, all of these is free, and a way to keep track of or watch for people stealing your work. All right. And then when you find situations where someone has stolen your work, whether they did it on purpose or not, because again, a lot of people don't understand how copyright works, you always want to respond. Because if you find yourself in a situation where you don't respond, you may create a track record where you get a reputation of being somebody who can be stolen from and there is no recourse. And then later on, if someone does steal from you and you want to lay the smack down on them, they could respond with your own track record and say, look at what you've done with all these other people. You've let them steal. You've known that they were stealing from you. You didn't say anything. Why should I be treated any differently? So to avoid that, you always want to respond to suspected copyright infringement in some way. And there's 5 main ways you can do it. The first is you grant permission. You just say, hey, I see you're using my photo. You should have asked for permission. I'm going to grant you a license after the fact. But in the future, if you want to use another one of my photos, you're going to have to ask my permission in advance. There you go. I've done this. Next option, send the cease and desist letter. This can be from you to them, or it can be from your lawyer to them. It's a stop it letter. Hey, I see what you're doing. You're using my photo. Knock it off. Take it down. A lot of times when I write these, it's take it down or else. We will pursue other legal options. So I would say never put anything in a cease and desist letter that you aren't willing to act on, which is why I typically say further legal action. So that way it's not well defined in case my client changes their mind about how they want to respond, which they've done. Your third option, DMCA takedown, stands for Digital Millennium Copyright Act. This is like a cease and desist letter, but it's only available in situations where your work is online and the person who stole your work posted it online. And instead of dealing with the person who stole your stuff, you deal with the company that hosts their website and you send them a certain notice. There's 6 requirements where you say, hello, this is me. Here's the link to my website that shows you my work. Here's the link to your client's website where they're stealing. I attest under penalty of perjury that I'm not lying. There's something else you have to include. I forget. All this stuff, if you look up DMCA takedown notice, the 6 requirements will pop up. You send it, the website has to take it down. Otherwise, they could be implicated in contributing to infringement. The downside of a DMCA takedown is it's really easy for the other side to get it pushed back up because all they have to do is say, hey, web host, I got your notice that you took this page down that has this photo on it. I didn't steal it. The other side, the other person doesn't know what they're talking about. Put it back up. And the web host has to put it back up because it's not their job to determine when infringement is or is not happening. But a DMCA takedown is a really good tool if you just want to make somebody stop it and there's somebody who is likely to be scared by it and be like, oh crap, I don't want to lose my hosting service. DMCA, and all these are based on US law. So if it's a web host who is in another country, they may not care and you may be like, US law says you have to take it down. And they may look at that and think, yeah, we're Canada. US law doesn't apply to here. So deleted. So that's another thing to be mindful of for DMCA. Your fourth option is you send a bill. There is a image licensing company who is notorious for doing this. They basically send you a letter that says, by using, you're using our image. By using our image, you've agreed to our licensing terms. Here's your license. Here's your bill. Pay the bill or we're going to sue you. Sometimes they sue, sometimes they don't. But that is something that is available to you. And then your fifth option is you can sue for infringement. as long as you've registered your work with the US Copyright Office in advance. If you want to be in a situation where you can either send a bill or sue for infringement, those are situations where you want to talk with a lawyer in advance and set yourself up so that those options for recourse are easier to use. Like suing for infringement when you register determines how much money you can recover in damages if you have to sue. Sending a bill usually means that one thing I encourage from my clients, if you want this option, then on your website, it's a good idea to have the licensing terms there. So you could say, hey, you were already, here's my licensing terms, which were publicly available. You were on notice, pay up. So there you go. Those are your 5 options for responding when someone steals your work. All right. So we are going to change gears and talk about contracts. So to have a contract in general, you need 3 things. You need an offer, acceptance, and consideration. There is one exception where consideration is not required. We will talk about that in a little bit. But offer and acceptance, pretty self-explanatory. Consideration means there is a give and take that makes sense. So this is why you can't sell a house for a penny, or why you can't sell a pencil for $1 million unless there's something about that pencil that makes it worth $1 million. So there has to be a give and take that makes sense. That's reasonable. So if you don't have those 3, you don't have a contract. So, and then when it comes to photography, there are 5 main contracts that I see. There are others, but these are the top 5. Trade for pictures, TFP contract, paid model, contracts you use when clients are paying you. If you are somebody who does like event photography, you need a second shooter, and then image licensing. You may not need all 5 of these in your work, but these are the top 5 that I see used by photographers. All right. Unsolicited advice, information, always put your contract in writing. Brenda was talking at the beginning about there are people who will have contract templates made and then they won't use them. And I have been in lots of situations where somebody has come to me saying, I'm in this dispute. I need you to help me, make this person either give me my stuff or pay me. And the first question I usually ask is, what does your contract say? Too many times they respond with, well, we didn't have one. So when that happens, I have to piece together what the contract was based on emails, text messages, the behaviors of each side. And it's always incomplete and there's gaps and it's a pain in the ass. And you may spend more money having me piece together what the contract says than what you would have had to pay to have me write you a decent template to begin with. All right, so here's the way I approach a custom contract. A contract is a relationship management document. Its job is to put everybody involved on the same page, all the terms of this relationship all in one place so that you have this master document to go back to if there's ever confusion about who's responsible for what, or what obligations each side has, or when problems come up, how you're going to deal with them. These are all things you want to have in the contract. And so since I'm a visual person, I try to actually imagine the lifespan of the relationship, from first contact between the parties to final deliverables. What does this look like? What is the sequence of events? What are the common pitfalls that I have to help my client try to avoid? And that's how I write the contract. So that's my perspective. So these are some of the terms that I recommend that you probably need in your photography contract. So the first off is scope of work. What are you creating? Pretty self-explanatory. And along those lines, how does it work in terms of scheduling and cancellation? This is a big thing I run into with people who do like portrait work. Going back to scope of work, things like how long are you going to be shooting? How many photos are going to be in the deliverables? Things like that. So that way it's clear, like what's the goal for the shoot. All right, big one, payment. How are you going to get paid, and when are you going to get paid? And for some photographers, they get paid 3 times in the relationship. The first payment is a deposit. That only reserves their appointment slot. That's all they're paying for, is a reservation of your time. Second payment, due before or at the time of the shoot, is paying for the shoot itself. Third payment is the actual deliverables. So there you go. And you may have multiple payment terms in terms of how much you get paid and when. And a common thing that I like to see in professional creatives contracts is the requirement that unless your bill is paid in full, you will not provide the final deliverables, period. And hold that line. I had my designer do that with me when they did my designs for my online course about photography. I was like, oh, this is beautiful. Like, here's the final designs. Like, I'm great. You're finalized. You're good. And she was like, great. Send me the final payment and I'll send you the files. I was like, and I happened to be like out and about, and I was like, but I want them now. But I knew, I was like, no, like good for her for holding her line and being like, nope, until I get paid, you don't get your stuff. So that is something I recommend across the board for professional creatives, because otherwise your client could easily stiff you. And then what do you have to use as leverage? All right. Let's see. I think I already talked about this. Payment in full before final delivery, clear terms about the purpose of deposit. So, all right. Here's a huge one I see missing all the time. Who owns the copyright? The contract should be crystal clear about who owns the copyright in the images. Because a lot of people think, I'm paying for it, I own the copyright. No, you don't. I'm in the photo, I must own the copyright. No, you don't. And then if you have a client who is getting the copyright at the end of the day, they pay more. So in your contracts, it should specify who has the copyright and who gets a license, because usually I see both. Most frequently, the photographer retains ownership of the copyright. The client, the customer, gets a license to use the images for, in a certain way. And there may be limitations on that. It may only be a license for personal use and not for professional use. Like you can't do like a family portrait sitting and then suddenly mom's cropped out like a picture of her head and that's on her website being like, I'm a realtor or whatever. And be like, if your contract doesn't allow for it, she can't do that. Conversely, if the client is getting ownership of the copyright, you probably want a license back. So that way you can use the images in things like your portfolio for competitions, things like that. Because if you give the copyright to somebody else and you don't have a license back, you can't use it anymore, even if even though you took the picture. So, all right. And I mentioned that there is one instant where consideration is not required. Here it is. It is when you are giving your copyright to the other person. The only requirement is it has to be signed, and it has to be in writing, and it has to be signed by the person who is giving the copyright. So if you are giving the copyright to your client, it can just be one paragraph in the contract, or if it's something you do after the fact, it can just be a one-pager, like a one-liner. I assign the copyright in this photo to Susie Cream Cheese. Sign your name, you did it. You don't have to get paid. You don't have to exchange anything. There is no consideration required. I don't recommend that, but you can do it. If you want to be like, no, you want the copyright, you pay extra, I definitely encourage that. So what happens if somebody gives you a verbal assignment, or if you give somebody a verbal assignment, like, hey, like you can own the copyright in these photos, like that's totally fine. Like that's not an assignment. All you have is a license. I actually had this happen in a shoot I did back in 2012. Geez. The photographer said, during the shoot, yes, I'm going to send you the photos. You have all the rights to them. Do whatever you want with them. Very generous. I still don't own the copyright. He does, or his company does. I have a license to use it. So if it's not in writing, you didn't get an assignment. All right, moving on. Model release. Always get a model release. And just include it in your contract. So that way you can use the photos for, promotional purposes. Too many times I've seen people forget this, and then they try to get it later and they either can't find the person, or maybe the person died. It's just complicated. Or here's a crazy situation. Photographer was working with the model, took photos, photographer was being inappropriate, and so the model said, I'm out of here. There was no model release. Photographer dies. Photos, the copyright in the photos go to photographer's family. Photographer's friend contacts family and says, hey, I would love to use dead photographer's photos to create a book, like a tribute to him. Is that okay? The family says, yes, that would be lovely. Book gets published. Model finds out about the book, sees that some of the photos in the book are of him. There's no model release. So he calls me. I send a demand letter to the person who put the book out saying, these photos were published without a model release. This is what my client requires to compensate him for this damage, which was a 4-figure number. And she responded with, but I didn't know. Yeah, that doesn't matter. But the family gave me permission. Yeah, that doesn't matter. I'm on a fixed income. My client doesn't care. So yeah, my client made 4 figures because his image was used without permission, and the person who used it thought they had permission, and the family probably didn't know anything about how any of this stuff works. So they didn't realize that they needed this. So yeah, this was a mess. My client ended up being compensated, but this all could have been avoided had there been a signed model release. All right, modification. How, if you and the client come to an agreement about what you're going to do, and then the client wants to change it, well, that's up to you. I recommend that all modifications be in writing, signed by all parties, and you get to decide how much the client is allowed to modify the original contract before you say, you know what, no, like this is too many changes, too far outside the original scope. We need to cancel contract 1 and start over with a brand new contract. You can absolutely do that. All right. Dispute resolution. How are you going to resolve problems when they occur? The 3 main ways I see this happening: mediation, arbitration, or litigation. I usually put litigation in. You always want to say which state law applies, where you're going to resolve it, not just the state, say your county, and make it your county. So that way they have to come fight you on your turf if they're from out of state. And then some things you may want to put in there are like liquidated damages, where like if they challenge X, Y, and Z, the minimum fee is this much money. Like if you have to come after them for breach of contract or copyright infringement, the minimum, damages is going to be $50,000. Or limitation on damages. I will write it. Depending on who I'm writing for determines which one of these I use. If I'm writing for the photographer, I'll usually say if the client's coming after you for damages, that the most they can get out of you is what they paid you for the shoot in question. And then I like to put in all my contracts that the loser pays the winner's attorney's fees. All right. I think this is the last thing I suggest people put in their contracts. This is not a comprehensive list. There's some boilerplate stuff that I put in almost every contract I'm not going to go over. But here's one that's important to put in. And it's usually the heading is entire agreement. And it means that all the terms of the contract are in the contract, what we call the four corners of the document. This is back when we were a paper-based society. So that way, if something is not in the contract, it's not in the deal. It's not in the agreement. So that way, somebody can't come back at you and say, oh, but we had that phone call. No. But we had that text message. No. Oh, but we agreed that it was going to be XYZ. No. If it's not in the contract, it's not in the agreement. Entire agreement does for you. It saves you from headaches. It saves you from someone trying to change the rules after the fact. Because one thing to keep in mind with contracts is I know that there are templates out there. I'm sure some of them are good. I haven't seen any template that someone has given to me that I've endorsed on site. Usually I go, oh God, please don't use this. But I'm sure there are some good ones out there. But keep in mind, your contract is going to be what you are relying on when things go sideways, when everything goes foobar, blows up, bad hair day. Your contract is what's going to save your ass. So it's worth the investment to have a quality one created, or to create a quality one yourself. So be mindful of that. Kind of, I'm going to guess it's similar to gear. Like quality gear matters, you get better results. Quality contracts matter, you get better results. So to that end, I did create this course 2020 when it came out last year. It's called, this is, only for people who are interested. I'm not telling everyone that they should buy it. It's called Lights, Camera, Lawsuit, the legal side of professional photography. So it's almost 6 hours of legal information that goes in depth into these issues: copyright, trademark, contracts, some more stuff. And what I did, there's a rule that says lawyers can't sell templates. So what I did in my course for some of the lessons is I took my actual contracts and broke it out into several slides. I can't control if people take that and put it together in their own document. I don't, I'm not selling it that way, but if people choose to do that, that's on them. And last month was Captain Kirk's future birthday, so I ran this special for selling the whole course for $17.01. I reopened the code until the end of the month just for you all. So normally it's $49, but if you want it for $17.01, use code TREK2021 and you can get it. So, all right. So, what questions do you have?
So thank you so much, Ruth. That was, as I said, it was my second time. It was so interesting. You're so funny. Thank you so much for doing this for us. So if anybody wants to unmute and ask Ruth some questions.
I have a question. Let me put my camera back on, sorry.
Oh, look, you have a head.
Yes, sorry. So say I'm walking on the street, okay, and I'm taking pictures of people.
Okay.
Do I have the right to reproduce those photographs, sell them, exhibit them?
Okay.
And I don't sign anything because I'm just walking on the street. It's more like street photography.
All right. So the answer to every question starts with, it depends. So you want to be aware of the rules of your state, because there may be a local rule against photographing children. I've never seen any laws about photographing people. I have heard of it about children. So you want to be careful about that. So let's assume that there's no issue there. when a person is in public, they have no expectation of privacy. So taking a photo, assuming that you are on public property, like pure public sidewalk, like not in a mall where someone else owns it and they can have their own rules, or in like a street fair where they have like there may be rules if you're inside the grounds, regular street photography. There may be nothing that they can do to stop you from taking their photo, assuming you're not crossing the line into like some type of harassment. You're just snapping one photo and moving on. So if the person is identifiable, they may have rights to publicity. So there may be nothing wrong with you taking the photo. There may be nothing wrong with you showing other people the photo, but you may not be able to use it for marketing purposes. You may not be able to submit it for competition, things like that, because that's when a model release would be required. So yeah, in those circumstances, if you want to have that ability, you may want to have something on your phone that they sign, like with their finger, or turn on your video and say, hey, I'm, so-and-so, I take photos for a living. I got this really cool photo of you. Is it okay if I, put it on my website? And if they say, hi, I'm John Smith, go right ahead. If they challenge it, you at least have that to use. But if you're just snapping a photo and walking along, if you use it for marketing purposes, competition, something like that, you run the risk, if they find out about it, that they could come after you for violating their rights of publicity.
Right. All right. Thank you.
Ruth, I've got a relating. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to follow up to Sharm's question there. If, say, you did take a street photo and the person is recognizable and you did put it out there, like, it was like a fine art piece, okay? And you had it in a gallery and it sold.
Okay.
If that person never knows about it or finds out about it, then, that's fine. But say if they did and they wanted to go, the recourse of it, like, oh, hey, that's me or something. What can they do? Does that just block you from being able to do that? Or can they actually do more than that to you?
So remember the story I just told about the guy who got the 4 figures because his photo ended up in a book?
Yes.
Yeah, that can happen to you.
Okay, well, where they would charge you, otherwise you just can't use it.
Right.
So if you just didn't use it, if you said, oh, okay, well, then I just won't sell it, or I just won't, I'll take it down and I just won't do anything with it then.
Yeah. I mean, if you
then
just want to
that
use
would be
it,
fine too.
Yeah, you want to take the photo, you want to use the photo to practice your craft, practice your editing. You want to even show people, hey, look at this cool photo I took. As long as you're not using it for marketing purposes, you're not selling it, you're not violating their right of publicity, because there's no expectation of privacy in anything you do in public.
But if someone came and said, hey, I want 4 figures for you to do this, and you said, oh, well, I don't have it, or I don't want to pay you, so I'll just take it down and not do anything with it then.
You run the risk that they could sue you.
Okay, that's what I was curious about.
Yep. Now, can they sue? Yes. Could they win? Depends on depends on the rules, the laws of your state, and what precedent allows.
Because I know there's a lot of gray area right now going on with street photography.
Oh yeah.
Just from things I've listened to and stuff like that. So, okay, well, thanks.
And typically they have to be willing to pay their lawyer up front to do all this. And for some people it is worth it. And other people are like, oh, I don't want to pay a $2,500 retainer.
Sure.
So,
there's a lot of different things that go into it.
Yeah,
all
exactly.
Right. Well, thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Ruth, I've got a question too, sort of related. If I'm out taking a picture of an object, for example, it's somebody's yacht or somebody's house or the front of a theater, and I sell that image later on, do they have any recourse against me of taking a picture of an object like that?
Most of the time, no. It depends. Please don't be doing shots. Please no one be doing shots. I say this a lot. There are a few circumstances where a building is registered as not just is registered as like a trademark. So I know like the Eiffel Tower at night is protected and you can't take photos of that. But most of the time it's fine. So
Okay.
like 99 out of 100 times, it's fine. There's also sometimes really weird stuff. Like there's some weird building in New York that kind of looks like a cockroach, like the ass end of a cockroach sticking up. And they have something on their website that says, like, if you post pictures of our building, you grant us like the right to use it, which is total crap. But they did put it out there.
Okay. Related to that, and I think I probably know the answer to this, but say I take a picture of a Chevrolet car and I market that photo of that car. Does GM have any rights to that because I'm using their name in maybe the title of the work?
No,
Okay, even though it's a trademark name.
no.
Okay.
As
Good.
long as you're not suggesting a relationship with GM that doesn't exist.
Okay. Good.
I actually saw the reverse happen recently where there was a photographer and model did a shoot involving with a Volvo car, and Volvo reached out to them and said, this is a really cool photo, like we would love to use it. And the photographer said no, the model said no, they used it anyway, and the photographer sued for copyright infringement and the model sued for violation of their rights of publicity.
Cool. Thanks.
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, if a picture is taken in like a private setting, a studio, and say there's nothing recognizable about the person, like it's a bodyscape or something,
Yeah.
do you have to have a model release to use that commercially?
Probably not, but in the event that you are accused of wrongdoing, it would be nice to have the model release saying there's nothing you can do. But yeah, I mean, unless there's something about that bodyscape, there's a mole or something that makes them identifiable, it's pretty hard to tell, is this,
Right.
this person's torso or somebody else's torso.
Yeah, and I
Whatever.
mean, that goes down to the whole thing of, anybody could have like, I don't know, an arm or shoulder in a picture, but if it's not identifying them, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You can use it.
Yeah.
Generally.
Right.
Okay.
And even like in a situation, let's say there was a rule about you can't photograph children, but if you were only but if it was like a shadow where all you were seeing was like a kid on a swing, but it was all black,
Right.
like that's not identifiable. Or like the kid's shoes, and it was just like, like little blue kids.
Would
That's
the back of somebody be considered identifiable or not? Like when you have hair showing but there's no face or anything.
What's the answer to every legal question?
It depends.
There you go. It would depend if there was something about them that made them identifiable, like a tattoo, something like that. But if it was just Joe average person, back of head, white t-shirt, blue jeans, probably not.
Okay. Thank you.
So I have a question, Ruth, which is that like in our photography software, we can embed a copyright.
Mhm.
So it says I've done a C, a Brenda Fishbot, and my phone number. Does that help me at all or no?
Yeah, metadata is great. I would add the year.
Okay.
Make sure that there's something in the metadata about when you took it. So that way, if it does get stolen and someone pops up something in 2021, and you can be like, I created this back in 2018, and I got the metadata to back it up. So I know sometimes like the metadata off like your digital camera will also embed that information as to when the photo was taken. So, but yeah, copyright notices in general is the C in the circle, the owner of the copyright, and the year. So, and if you forget, just open any book, that page that has the little writing that no one reads but me will remind you what a copyright notice looks like. And you may also want to add into it all rights reserved. It's not required, but you can do that.
I have one quick question. I'm assuming you can hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Would you be willing to review a one-page document for me? One I used in 2019 for Harris Casino down in Anderson for horse race shooting. I'm just curious if you would find anything in that needs to be modified or is it okay the way it stands? They've already signed it and agreed to it. That was back in 2019.
Sure.
Is that something you'd like to do or not? It's up to you.
Yeah. So, okay. So my rate for legal services is $2.75 an hour, and I can't give I can never predict how long something's going to take because it usually depends on how many questions the client has, which is fine. The only thing I have to double check when I'm working with someone out of state is I have to double check that their state doesn't have an issue with an out of state lawyer working on a non-litigation matter, because some states are really picky about that, California, and most other states are totally fine. So I'd have to verify that, but then yeah, sure. If you want to hire me to review a contract, happy to do it.
Okay, I was just checking. All righty.
I have one other question.
Sure.
Okay. I host group shoots and I rent a friend's property to do this.
Okay.
I bought a waiver of liability form from the Law Talk.
Okay.
Online. I'm sure you've heard of her. So I'm sure it's well written and everything, and it seems pretty comprehensive. But I've heard some people say that insurance companies can get around those, that they really don't mean much. Is this true, or it depends?
I guess it would depend on the rules of your state. Because I mean, as a person, I've signed so many like waivers of liability where it's like, I'm gonna do this ropes course, and if I die, it's my fault. So I guess I would have to see like what it says and research the case law in your state and blah blah blah.
Right.
But in general, they do hold water. So, but I guess depending on how it's written and the circumstances and.
Yeah, I was told it's basically like if somebody does get injured and they go to the hospital, they use their insurance company.
Yeah.
And their insurance says, well, we didn't sign a waiver and we're suing you.
That's what lawyers are for. This is why. Yeah, so, yeah.
My contract says even any representatives cannot take action. So I would consider an insurance company a representative.
I would think so, but this is not my area of law.
Right.
So I've had to sign a waiver for a photo shoot that was on a location that had like parts that like could cause injury, like if you weren't watching where you were walking. And we all had, part of the deal was you get here, you walk the property, you notice there's hazards, and you sign a waiver saying, yeah, if I get hurt, like the owner's not responsible. So,
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Ruth, you spoke about social media and some of the platforms that you've given your life away.
Mhm.
So I would say that this group certainly myself put my photos out on my Facebook page.
Sure.
Stupid.com?
No.
Okay.
Just don't be surprised if one of your photos ends up on a Facebook ad. Like that's the permission you're giving them. So.
Yeah, I had a question about that too for Brenda. That's a good. So basically, it would just it usually would just give that social platform the right.
Right.
It doesn't give anybody else the right to do it.
Only if the terms say that it does, which it probably doesn't.
Probably doesn't. Yeah, but they can use it for whatever they want.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So when I've written these, that's how I've written it.
Yeah. Okay.
And what about, so when you do the searches that you gave us several great ideas on how to do the searches for free, I've heard stories, I don't know if they're made up, about people going, perusing through photos and grabbing them and then selling them to stock art companies like Adobe Stock and Getty.
Yeah.
And, there's lots of them. Is that accurate? That's,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, it happens. Or I've seen it when it was a painter that I knew who was also a priest and like the nicest guy ever, like had his, had a website where he showed his work. And one of his former students, because he also worked at a university, stole images off his site and was selling prints. And I had to do a massive DMCA, like 96 entry DMCA takedown to get all these images off the bad guy's site.
Wow.
So yeah,
that's,
stuff like
that's gutsy.
And I know, and I've seen it where like a client came to me and they said, hey, I got this photo off this free images website and now I'm getting this like cease and desist demand letter. Like, I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. The website said it was okay. And I said, you did everything right in terms of like doing your homework and going to a site that makes things available for free. It's not a guarantee that the person who put the photo on the site had permission to do it. So yeah, that stuff like that does happen. Not often, but it happens.
You mentioned creating a Google alert for your name.
Yeah.
So what if something comes up that shouldn't be there? Is there anything you can do?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if they're stealing your stuff, my recommendation is you always respond. And so you decide on a case by case basis how you want to respond. If you want to grant permission, like I've had like kids, like put their thing on their Pinterest and it's like, it's fine. But I've had other times where it's like, hey, you stole a whole blog post off my site. Screw you. DMCA, I've done the DMCA, I've done the cease and desist. Yeah, like 3 times I've had my stuff stolen by other lawyers who don't understand copyright. Because copyright is not a required course in law school. So, and they were like one of them was like, I didn't know it was wrong. I was like, oh my God. So yeah, you get to decide how you respond. So yeah, recently one of my clients makes wallpapers. And like one of their wallpapers ended up as like available as part of a collage on Amazon. And so now I have to go deal with Amazon. I'm like, okay, like they took some of the product images down. I'm like, no. You have to take the whole product listing down because one of the 50 photos in this collage thing is my client's photo. So, case by case basis.
Thank you.
Circling back to the street photography, I was told that there's an app called Easy Model Release that you get on your phone and they sign with their finger. I'm assuming from the information that you gave us, Ruth, that that's not your best choice because again, it's, a quick and dirty contract. And obviously the person can say, well, I didn't read it. I just signed it.
That's okay. If someone chooses not to read the contract and just signs their life away, it's no excuse to come back. Well, I didn't read it. That's like getting a speeding ticket, getting pulled over for speeding and being like, I didn't know what the speed limit was. It's like, well, you were still 20 miles over. So here's your ticket. So, you're still bound by the contracts you sign as long as you had the opportunity to read it. So I have never read the release on Easy Model, so I can't speak to how good it is. It might be great. But I've done shoots with photographers who they just, have it on an iPad and they're like, sign here. So now I admit one of those times was when I had written the model release for the photographer. So I was like, I don't need to read it because I wrote it. So yeah, could it be valid? Yeah, absolutely.
It would be better than nothing.
Better than nothing. Yeah, I was
exactly.
gonna say. Yeah.
Most of the time they don't read them. I tell models all the time, read the release because mine gives me like comprehensive rights to everything. and they never read them. They just
You-
sign.
You should totally put in like that I get like your firstborn kid and
Right.
stuff like that. You know, they have to send you a card on Elvis's birthday. Like you can totally put stuff like that in there.
That's
I wrote a
That's
contract once where one party had to attest to the other that they are a sexy bitch.
That is awesome.
A valid contract.
That is awesome.
That wasn't the whole contract, but that was in the contract.
Does anyone else have any questions for Ruth?
Yeah, I do. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Loud
Yeah.
and clear.
Okay. I had the opportunity to photograph the lead guitar player for Foreigner
Okay.
during their 40th tour.
Cool.
He was just sitting on a bus in front of me, and I made sure I didn't take the whole front photograph of him, just the side. But with rock stars, I mean, it's pretty common that they get their picture taken even by phone. How legal is it if I post it and use it? It depends, right?
It
If I get
depends. I
caught
mean,
or not.
they would have to be willing to come after you for violations. And with celebrities, there's the whole issue of it's newsworthy and so it's okay. And as long as you're not selling it, you're probably fine.
Okay.
Unless somebody has a history of going after people for stuff like this, which I don't know of anyone who does, but stranger things have happened. What I actually see as the reverse is situations where a celebrity will use a photographer's photo without a license.
Okay.
I see that happen much more often.
Yeah, because the shot I got, just the side shot, but the best shot I got is actually the VIP pass they all had to wear on their hips that said the 40th tour.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, now is that their license or something
Probably.
you can use?
I mean, yeah, I look at that and I go, okay, who could come after you, and are they willing to? So for a picture of a pass, I'd be like whose rights are you violating? Because that could be anybody's hip, not just famous person's hip. So how would they prove that? And
Yeah, whose hip is it?
yeah, so
That it was attached to. Okay.
yeah, and unless there's a copyright issue with the pass itself, which I doubt, I highly doubt it. But
Okay.
again, stranger things have
Stranger
happened.
things have happened.
Ruth, do you want to share your screen again, your website?
I mean, so here's, geeklawfirm.com takes you to all my socials. Scarlet Maven is the course, because I had to create a separate company to be like, the course does not provide legal advice, only legal information, no attorney-client relationship form, blah, 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 blah. And then if you want the course for more than 50% off, we're only good through Friday, Trek 2021.
Thank you so much for offering that. And that's an incredibly reasonable price to be able to get hours of legal advice and direction. So thank you so much for offering that to us also.
My pleasure.
And I just wanted to say, Ruth, thank you for your time too. Your time is money, and we really appreciate you telling us all this stuff and taking your time for us. This was great.
It's my pleasure. I've seen photographers run into so many issues over the years that were completely avoidable just because they didn't know the information. So this is something that I do to give back to the community.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay, everybody, if you want to unmute, we'll thank Ruth all together. So
Yes, thank you so much.
thanks so much. That
Thank
was
you.
great. Really appreciate working with you, Ruth.
It's my pleasure. Thank you again for having me.
Yeah, it was great meeting you.
You too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Anybody else, if you want to stay on, we'll cover some of the upcoming events we have. And again, Ruth, thank you so much. That was great.
It's my pleasure. Have a good night, everybody.
Okay, good night.
You have a good night too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, what did everybody think?
Very
awesome.
good.
Good.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that was great.
He's a very good speaker.
Yeah, thanks for setting that all up.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you liked it. I wanted to cover some of the stuff we have coming up. Hey, and I want to say shout out to Don Ganyu is in the house. Woo,
I
woo.
know.
Whoa.
Nice to see you, Don.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I excited to come in and see what was going on.
Don's a stranger.
I know.
No,
Well,
I'm no stranger than anybody else on this thing. Don't turn me off.
He's a traveling stranger.
Yeah, that's probably true.
so what's so interesting is, we opened this up to all photographers and hoped everybody would invite their photo friends and we could get, I was hoping
Yeah.
we'd get 100 people, 50 people jumping on because we have 800 people on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
And our only non-club member that hopped on was, and everybody on Facebook, when I suggested this, said, oh my God, I want that course, et cetera.
Yeah.
Don is our only non-member. And of course, if there's anybody who's really a member, even though they're not
Oh
a
my
non-member, it's
gosh.
Don. He was on the board for 795 years.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, hey, but it was a nice thing that we offered. And, and I think that was at least something,
Yeah,
Right,
I'm
well,
really
we got-
surprised you didn't get more people. That's
Oh, I know, especially for a topic like this.
Right.
It just seemed like we would have gotten more people, but
It seems like because you can get yourself in trouble so easily, and those two questions I've had forever. I just never.
yeah, yeah, I know.
So can everybody see the workshops coming up on the screen? Does that show up?
Yeah.
So the next one is the how to some monochrome conversion ideas, because we've got a monochrome topic coming up. We only have till May 1st to enter our photos, and Don, you would have a blast. The online site is really fun, and we have so many more competitors, and you get to see their photos, and the judges write out really elaborate critiques for us.
Yeah, Don, it's worth it. It's worth.
I think we'll probably be back to joining again next year. We were traveling so much.
Yeah.
And you can
so
enter
many
your
hassles.
photos. You can enter your photos at any time. So you can enter now through August.
Yeah.
Your photos ahead of time, so you don't have to be anywhere.
Yeah.
And you don't like they should. There's a closing date, but you can have your photos in a month ahead.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
So it's really fun with a critique corner that John Giebers gets on and critiques, and Bill Christie critiques photos. And so I've been doing that a month before I enter it, so I can modify the photo. I've been doing way better with that because they'll say, oh no, crop this,
Yeah. I can
fix
see
your
that
skies. Yeah, it's been awesome. So what I want to draw everybody's attention to is this Matt Kloskowski. So Matt is offering photo clubs. So we'll be in with a couple other clubs, but Matt promised it would be a really small group. It's going to be Wednesday, May 5th. So on May 4th, we have Chris. May 5th, we have Matt Kloskowski. You do need to go out to the site and register. It's sponsored by Sony, so they're just collecting emails. So use an email. You don't use much, but it's going to be what sends you the link to get on. And then May 25th, I've got Cameron Darnell. You guys are going to love this kid. He's 19. He's a spectacular bird photographer. His photography is way better than Matt Kloskowski's. I mean, way, 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 way better than Matt Kloskowski's. And then May 18th, Larry Gaskill, our own club member, is going to do some night photography for us. So looking forward to that. And then Molly Isaacs is doing abstracts, and she's a really unusual photographer, and she is artistically based. So she's going to talk to us about what makes a good abstract photo and when is it just abstract and not very exciting. Chris is going to get us ready for
planning any like meetups.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of meetups that Chris has put on our page. I have not shared them yet because Chris is like, I'm high risk. I'm probably not going to show up. And I'm like, okay, well, who's going to organize the meetup and where are people going to meet? And what you're saying the meetup is for practicing night photography. So who's going to teach that? So I'm waiting for Chris to be clear about that before I share any of it. She has one like every week planned, and they're out on the Facebook events page. So you can, everybody's been invited, that's a club member has been invited to all of those. I'm high risk, so I really don't want to be chimping on the back of somebody's camera. I mean, I've got my back, I'm vaxxed, but it just seems a little nervous to me. So I'm kind of waiting to see what that's going to look like.
Okay.
Brenda, I have a quick question, if I may.
Yeah, please.
Bird photography takes you to a website, right?
Right, and then you register.
Register where?
It should have when you go here, let's just try it, see if this comes up. Yeah, so it has the workshops with him, register now, right here.
You blow that up.
I'm on a different one.
I clicked on the link in my email.
Can you click on that right now?
Yep, and so you register now, and you need to join Alpha Universe, or you need to log in. And you just say log in and put in your name and password and log in.
But we don't have a name or password.
You'll create it. So so the first thing you'll have to do is join, and all the join Alpha Universe is just your email, confirm your email and username.
Well, they ask for all that and say it's required.
Yeah, so well, you have to join. They're just collecting emails so they can send you information on Sony.
Right,
Hey,
but
Brenda.
they also want your name, password, birthday.
Yep. So that's because they're hosting the workshop.
Okay.
Yep, go ahead, Brian.
Hey, Brenda, when did you send that email with all the information on the workshops?
That is out on the web, on the Facebook page. All of it is, and
It's
it
on
went
Facebook?
out.
Okay.
Yeah, but it went out as an email to, Jerry sent that out. Yeah, how many emails do I have for the photo club? It was after that. Jerry just sent it out a couple of days ago, and the heading was in all caps. It had the picture of our speaker, and it had right here. It went out Sunday night at 6:37. It had congrats to our novice winners and our advanced winners and all the upcoming workshops. And it has the Zoom links all on it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, Brenda, quick
Yep.
question. I see the abstracts event is listed twice. One's got a strike through on it. Do you want me to go ahead and just get rid of that one and keep the one with the abstract with impact?
Oh, yes. So it
Okay.
has a strike. That's interesting. Okay, that's weird. So Jerry, if you're out there and you can show what we have for all the meetups,
Sure.
go right ahead since you're out there. And just let me mention Corey Hart. So I'm really excited about Corey too. He's 18 years old. He's going to do woodland photography. I actually bought his course also. I bought Cameron's course. I was so impressed. So I've been trying everybody out before I bring in somebody who's, not impressive. So anyway, I'd love to charge the club for all the workshops I've been paying for, but you're going to be really impressed by Corey. This kid's really, really got an eye and beautiful work. So anyway, just that's on there. And the newsletter always has the Zoom link. So all you have to do is click here. Every workshop, I get emails on the board link and to me personally, and my texting asking for what's the link. It's the same every time, with the exception of obviously the Sony workshop is going to be different, but all of our regular ones is the same link. Yeah, go ahead and switch, Jerry.
Okay, give me just a second here. I want screen number 1. Give me just a minute here.
Yep, no worries.
Okay, this is the members page. So let's go back to this is the original site. So let's go under events and you'll see the ones coming up. You may get a listing that says show more, which I don't think I'm going to get, but you may have to click on the option that says show more multiple times. Okay. So these are the ones we have coming up. I don't know details on what these are doing as far as time goes, but these are the ones coming up. The social outings, I've got 3 listed here. So those are going to be two days in June and 1 in July, it looks like.
2 for night photography and 1 for long exposure.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one is which at this point. Or are they both?
It says right on them. So on
Well,
your 618, it says night photography.
Yep.
And then it says the same thing on the 710.
So are those 2 different outings?
Yeah, so 2
Okay.
different times to do night photography and then a long exposure. So click on one of those, Jerry, and just see if she gives location or details or any of that.
This
Yes.
is Lawton Park.
Yep.
It just gives her number.
Okay. Yeah, it gives, I mean, Lawton Park at 9 p.m. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Lawton Park's closed at 9.
I think it closes at 10 or 11, I think.
Oh, okay. So she's figured that out.
And the
I thought,
Lawton Park, the only part that closes at that time is the skate park. Yeah, the skate park closes because they have a cop sitting outside the skate park to keep things under control.
okay, good.
So I don't know of any other.
Those are the ones she has down yet so far. Okay, good.
Now I'm not sure. Oh, that's a link to the site. That's in Wabash is where that one is.
Yeah, that was the other one she's doing is, yeah, she wants to go to Charlie Creek Falls. So she's planning on, she showed some photos at one of our meetings that she'd shot there. And, you know, she's planning on everybody hopping in cars and driving there to shoot together and planning everybody bring picnic items. So like for me personally, that's past my comfort zone, but you know.
There's Corey Hart's listing.
Yep.
And then there's one up here for Cameron as well.
Yep, and Molly Isaacs right below.
Yep. And then these all have information on them, it looks like.
Yep, and the same link.
So if you just if you go to the Facebook, the members Facebook page,
And go to
the
events.
events category, it may only list the first 3. I think the first time I did click, it listed the first 3. You had to click on show more to see a longer list, and then show more again to see the longer list at this point. And this is the entire list as far as I know. So like, see where it says see more here?
Yeah, and those are showing past events
Right.
there.
But
Yeah.
that's going to come up when you click on the events option up here as well.
And then another great thing about the Club, Don, is while you're there, Jerry, could you show the media? And all of the workshops are recorded. So, for example, you're traveling. I'm 6 months now. We live in Florida. Woo, woo. And I can, if I miss a workshop, I just can go here and go to albums, isn't it, Jerry? I'm pretty sure. And then workshop recordings is the third one there. And then when you open that, it shows all the recordings of the workshops. And then Chris has also put out a whole bunch of courses she's taught with the workshop recordings.
Oh, that's nice.
So then that's available. Yeah, and as Sarah is saying in comments that, you know, she's traveling right now for her job. And so it's a way she can be connected to the club. And Sarah's been posting the winners on Facebook for us. She's digital co-chairing with me and doing a bunch of that. So that's been a really big help. And she's doing that all from living in Ohio right now, traveling. So thanks for all her help on that.
Yeah,
So
is there any plans for the club to go back to live meetings at this point?
At the moment, so for us to have a PSA judge, these are all internationally rated judges that have been judging us. Obviously, we can't be in a meeting format. So we're going to continue with, I believe the plan is to continue with the site and do just what we've been doing with it. And there's plans to do something with print, but we don't think we'll need a regular meeting place, you know, where we have some money left over with ArtLink, but we'd really like a bigger space. So we're looking at other spots for that, but we're really talking potentially print will be, you know, later, like a year from now, would it potentially is a little bit better to put a bunch of seniors in a room together.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so we can continue like this, doing our workshops and what have you. And then we're just planning on doing these meetups where we go photograph together or have somebody teach us different skill sets. You know, like Larry Kilgore said, he'd have people out to do hummingbirds and he'd have people out to do some of his cool night photography stuff. You know, and just kind of do some, you know, a lot of that.
Yeah.
You know, practice macro photography together or whatever.
I see I'm going to need more than my 15 or 30 gigabyte of monthly data while I'm on the road.
Well, yeah, for the
work, things really suck up a lot of data.
Yeah, the workshops, but you could again just go to a McDonald's for that, for a workshop, or just watch the recording.
Yeah.
So you know, you see how that goes. So that's really been.
Oh yeah, just data management.
Yeah, it's really been super that way. And you know, or wait till you're back and then, you know, catch everything. But like, you can just get like I said, you can upload your photos for the rest of the year.
And
so
it also looks like you got activities going year round now. You're not just doing the old 9 month or so.
Yeah. So the nice. new year is September to September. September is August is our year end, and it's just your favorite 4 photos, the 4 photos you want to enter, and they'll be judged. And then as 4 photos, as opposed to where you put all of your photos in, because that'd be 4 times 12 times, that's 48 per person. And then the judge would have to go through like hundreds of photos, thousands of photos.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
So it just is your top 4 and they'll be judged. And for year end, we're doing cash prizes and we're doing gift prizes. So Jerry, let me flip back to my screen and I'll share the point score. So we have this cool point score where, can I do it from here? I don't think I want to. So this is the website. The only downside of this site is that it is slow. Like you can look at all the winners of all the sites. Like my problem was when I was traveling, I, you know, couldn't really get the results until I saw the cable release and or had somebody write stuff down for me. And you know, you didn't know where you stood in the pack. So we have this thing called point scores that rates you up for all your scores for the year. And then there'll be prizes for that. So I'll show you advanced. And the site is in Australia, so it is a little slow. So right now, Larry Kilgore is in the lead at 255, followed by me, followed by Denise McQuillan, followed by Sharm, Peter Dominowski, Mike Koenig, Jim Wolpe, Bill Thumb, Brian. And it just tracks how many photos you've entered and how you've placed.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so then those people win prizes. So we've got free classes. We've got gifts from Hunts. We got Hunt sponsoring speakers for us. And we've got jewelry donated. Brian is donating a bunch of board games and disc games from his company. So there's all sorts of cool stuff that you can, the winners win.
Yeah. Well, I think Mary and I will certainly be joining again next year. Things were just so up in the air this year that it was difficult to keep track of anything. So I think we're going to give it a shot and get back at the club because I miss that. I miss, talking to everybody and submitting photos and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, well, and right now it's $12.50 to join, through August. So you'd be able to participate in the year end for anything you'd entered. So anybody have any questions? Any other things? Well, we'd love to have you back down. Actually not, just we can come back, just don't compete.
Oh, no, wait a minute. It wasn't that bad.
Oh, you were that good. That was the problem.
I do have one question that I think I know
Sure.
the answer to, but I'd like to pose it anyhow. Has John Engelman been involved?
No, John is very, very, very ill. So no, he and his wife are not involved at all.
I didn't think so. Last I talked to them was about 3 months ago, and I've been wanting to give them a call and just see how everything's going, but I had a feeling it wasn't going well.
Yeah, you've talked to him more recently than I have, but when I talked to them, Judy said they won't be participating any longer.
Yeah, because I know if he would have been, I would have been the guy getting the photos ready and all that stuff for him, and he hasn't said anything to me, so I had a feeling he wasn't, so.
Right. Well,
That's too
and
bad.
we have a whole bunch of new people. So Danielle Ellingworth is on, and she is much younger. Mike Koenig joined us, of course, Sarah, but that's a picture that Danielle Ellingwood took of herself for self-portrait. Isn't that wicked cool? Can you
Wow.
see that photo?
Yeah, that is something
She did her own makeup for that photo.
impressive.
I know. Yeah, and she's a novice.
Yeah,
So,
right.
Yeah, so we've got quite a few of those, but we have a lot younger group, which is really because it's online and younger people are more familiar with that.
Well, that's a
And-
good thing. We tried for many years to try to get more young people involved with it. So yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah, our competitions are a lot of young people with young children that are showing up in the photos.
Yeah.
So that's been really, really fun.
Well, sounds good.
Thank you all for coming. The recording, Jerry will send out an email with the recording on it. And
Hey, Brenda, I
so-
got one question.
oh, please, Mike. Yeah. This
It's
is
a
my
quick one.
young person too. Isn't that amazing photo down with this this face mask photo? I just
Yeah.
thought that was so powerful.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, this is related to next month's competition. And I noticed I think it's the third category. I don't remember what it's called. I'm not logged in right now, but I have no idea. I have no idea what that means.
Indigenous people or things. That was chosen by Doug Pagangi, who's a Miami Indian. So,
Oh, okay.
So he's going to enter, I'm sure, a picture of a Miami chief or he's done some beautiful pictures of, I don't know what it's called. I bet Brian does. Like it's a lacrosse mallet, but it's an older game played by the Indians in the area. If Brian's on, he'll know the name of it. But beautiful photos he's taken of these pieces. So I'm entering a photo I took in Africa of a young African child with his goats. So it could be anything to do with indigenous means native. So,
That's what I thought. And I
Yeah.
got that part, but it seemed like a very narrow category. I don't know
Yeah.
if I have anything to put in there. So,
Yeah.
okay,
s-
thanks for
so-
clarifying that.
Yeah, so that's good though, Mike, because that means my photo will do a lot better.
There's
you.
always tough competition every month.
Yeah, no, it's been great. It's really been fun because we have a lot of, the competitions are much bigger, Don. So
Uh-huh.
we've gone up quite a bit in size, and the novice is quite a bit bigger. So just because it is so much easier to enter them when you want, and they just go, they're automatically up and ready to go.
Yeah,
So
sounds good.
that's been cool. So great.
So
Well,
hey, Mike.
Yeah.
I just want to say, indigenous people, if you take a picture of a person in Fort Wayne and it is definitely a Fort Waynian, then
How do you
that's an
determine that,
indigenous.
Brian?
The judge may not see it that way, but you could at least enter it that way.
Yeah, there you go.
well, and you could also enter, anything, I would think old, like, for example, the Fort Wayne Fort. That's, well, I guess that wasn't indigenous, but it's at least historic enough to be part of that. But you've done a bunch of traveling.
Or you could really go out on a limb and put in a photo of a Martian.
There you go. They're indigenous somewhere.
That's right, to Mars, if you've got one of those photos, that is.
So, so I do think that that's a little bit tricky of a category. The other one is isolated objects, so that's much easier. And we're looking for topics. So whatever the topic is, we're planning a workshop about it. That's our goal. So, obviously there's no good workshop for indigenous things, but that's why we're doing with the long exposure and the night photography. And then, like, for example, abstracts will be a topic in September after we've had the abstracts workshop. So we're kind of doing it that way where we can have a workshop a month or two before that's why we had a self-portraits workshop before the self-portraits was due, to give people some inspiration and some different, kind of simple to complex photos. So anyway, that's our goal. So if there's particular topics you think would be fun, that's where we definitely want to get those.
That sounds good.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you everybody for attending and for being a member. And Don, we look forward to seeing you. Steve and I are in the fort for the next 6 months, so look forward to seeing you.
Sounds
Thanks
good.
for everything, and it was nice seeing everybody.
Yep, same here.
Yep.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, Brenda,
Yep.
I have a question for you, but it's not related to any of this. So can
Okay.
I wait till everybody gets off?
Sure.
Okay. I want to talk about Topaz.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Sarah, if you're still on, Sarah, are you going to be able to upload photos tonight?
No, there's only 3 left, so
Yeah, I
don't
know it's Sarah. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
Sarah.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, great. Yeah, or or tomorrow, whatever works. Or you can just, like I said, you can use the timer thing and then they'll automatically post.
Yeah, no, I was getting ready to do it now.
Okay, awesome. Great. How did you find that helpful? The talk?
Yeah, it was really good. I liked it.
Okay.
Thanks
perfect.
for all your time and efforts in getting them on. It was nice.
Well, I have so much admiration for Jim. We'll be having to do it from the Fort Wayne pool. I'm doing it from the national pool, so it's a lot easier job. So anyway, good. Well, I just wanted to see if people thought that was helpful or not. So
Cool.
all
Yeah,
right.
thank you.
All right, great. Thank you. And let me
All
know if
right,
you need
I'll
any
see you
help
guys.
on picking out stuff. Yep. Take care. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah. What about Topaz?
Yeah, I was working on some photos and now I had to come back to Florida here for a couple days, so I'm down here now. I don't even have my hard drive with me. I'm on my dad's computer. But my question is on Topaz. You don't really have to buy the whole package, right? You can buy portions of it.
Yeah, they don't actually sell the whole package, so you really only want a few pieces of it.
Okay, that's what I thought you had done.
Yeah, well, I have purchased a whole bunch of Topaz because I started with them a long time ago, and then I upgraded, and then I upgraded. But the pieces I think are the most important for me is Gigapixel AI. I'm trying to bring up Lightroom so I can show you, get into Topaz.
Okay, let me write it down.
Yeah, so Gigapixel is good if you're doing, like I'm shooting birds, so a lot of times they're far away. And by the time you crop in, you know, your photo's not a good crisp photo anymore.
I wondered. Okay.
So if you're doing that kind of, if you're doing a big landscape, it doesn't matter, right? So the Gigapixel makes a photo 6 times bigger than it is.
Okay.
So you crop it, before you crop it down and turn it into nothing, when it's a full-sized photo, you turn it into a huge photo and then you crop it.
Start cropping. Okay.
And so that's Gigapixel. So I really wouldn't have needed it until I started doing these, like the bird photos where the birds are far away and you're just cropping the crap out of the picture to get to what you want, you know?
Okay. Because I would have liked to have tried that on that coyote I did and then have to crop it. Because that coyote picture that I had in the critique section of our club, that coyote was far, far away. He looked like a dot, actually. And I just happened to know what he was, and that's why I photographed him. Now, what about the that Sharpen? That, what's it called?
In the G-Noise and Sharpen are both, okay, it's telling me I'm really low.
So the Sharpen is a good one?
Yeah, the Sharpen and denoise are really critical.
And denoise, okay.
So like if you're shooting anything at night, like this photo, when I shot it, let me see if I can show you this. Okay. So this photo, when I shot it, system's really slowing down.
Okay, I don't see anything. So are you frozen?
And when I got off of it, when I used the
Are you showing me a photo, Brenda? Because all I have is the moon.
It's valuable. I'm sorry?
All I have is Half Moon Rising by Larry Kilgore up. Nothing came out.
Okay, try again because you broke up.
Okay, all I have is Larry Kilgore's picture. So one of us is losing connection because you keep freezing.
Even gonna, okay, hang on.
Oh, hello. The internet kick out? Yeah, there you went.